Greetings, class. This is Dr. Mo. This video will cover Chapter 4, which deals with research ethics. Chapter 4. Chapter 4 discusses the integrity and relevance, ethical financial reporting, conducting ethical research, the ethic quiz, informed consent, ethical guidelines, questionable ethics in accounting behavior. The textbook starts off with integrity and relevance. According to the author, there are two fundamental questions that need to be addressed to determine whether research can be deemed ethical. And one is, what are we researching? And two, how are we conducting the research? The author in the textbook also discusses two major concerns, although there are several, but the author mentioned two, which are a crisis of integrity and a crisis of relevance. Integrity involves the credibility of knowledge published in journals. He states that the credibility is increasing in doubt. Also, a crisis of relevance. He stated that although as researchers we try to find gaps in research, but the author stated that the gaps or the gap in research is widening. It is actually widening instead of it becoming smaller, the gap that is. Well, what is research ethics? Well, research ethics is nothing but a set of guidelines to assist the researcher in conducting ethical research. However, again, with Chapter 4, it does discuss ethical concerns or ethics behaviors. And ethical concerns can be divided into three areas. They are relationship between society and science, professional ethics, or professional issues in ethics, and three, treatment of research participants. Relationship between society and science. The first one, relationship between society and science. It is the extent to which societal issues and cultural values should direct the course of scientific investigation. It says that the federal government spends millions of dollars each year on research. The federal government set priorities for how the money is to be spent. And also the federal government there states that there's an increase to increase the probability of obtaining research funds. Investigators orient their research proposals toward these same priorities. Also, the corporate world provides extensive research funding. And of course, again, we're talking about ethical concerns, ethical behaviors. So in the corporate world, there could be biases and restrictions when it comes to research. There could be ethical concerns about research sponsored by drug companies. Corporate funding can become a conflict of interest where the researcher's activities and decision-making are unduly affected by the corporate interests. Another ethical concern is professional issues. There could be research misconduct, whereas researchers are fabricating, they're falsifying or plagiarizing the proposing, performing, reviewing, or reporting of research results. It states that approximately 2% of scientists or researchers report serious fraudulent behavior. Approximately 30% reported engaging in questionable practices. And when asked to report about other scientists, not themselves, the reported estimate of serious fraud was approximately 14%. So it is important to note that these were self-report data and may underestimate the problem. Ethical concern is the treatment of research participants and IRB. We're going to discuss that just briefly. So the treatment of research participants is the most fundamental issue confronted by researchers and scientists. Research with humans can potentially create a great deal of physical and psychological harm. A scientist or a researcher is obligated to consider the ethics of conducting the research. Some studies cannot be designed in such a way that the possibility of physical and psychological harm is eliminated. The researcher often faces the dilemma of having to determine whether the research study should be conducted at all. So what is the IRB? The IRB, or the Institutional Review Board, they review research proposals involving human participants. They provide information listed on the next slide, table 4.1. The IRB also make recommendations regarding the cost-benefit relationship in a study. They also are concerned about the primary consideration to the welfare of the participant. The IRB is required to make judgments regarding the ethical appropriateness of the proposed research, ensure that the research is fully examined to the research participants. The IRB ensures that the risk of harm are reasonable in relation to the hoped for benefits. And they also are concerned that the procedures used in the study do not harm the participants. So here you see in table 1, information that must be presented in a research protocol presented to the IRB. They must know the purpose of your research. They must know the relevant background and rationale for the research, the participant sample, experimental design and methodology. And if you're planning on giving incentives to the participants, they want to know about that. They want to know about the risk and benefits to the participants and precautions to be taken, and also privacy and confidentiality of the data collected. Your textbook lists several ethic quizzes. So if you have not already read them, please do so. There are several scenarios in which the author lists examples of unethical behaviors in research. But I have 2 questions for you. And the first question is, research misconduct includes all of the following. Which is considered to be the most serious? Is it A, overlooking others' use of flawed data? B, changing the design of a study in response to pressure from a funding source? C, not presenting data that contradicts one's own work? Or D, presenting fraudulent results? Which one is it? Is it A, B, C, or D? And the answer is D, presenting fraudulent results. The next question is, what are the basic principles of ethic research? And This is a question in your homework assignment. Textbook listed two that we've discussed already, but let's answer the question. What are the basic principles of ethical research? Is it A, integrity and relevance, B, confidentiality and plagiarism, or C, benefit and cost? What are the basic principles of ethical research? And the answer is A, integrity and relevance. Let's go on to informed consent. What is an informed consent? An informed consent is where you're informing the research participant of all aspects of the study that might influence his or her willingness to volunteer to participate. You, as a researcher, must inform the participants of all aspects of the research. You must inform them of the purpose and procedures, any risks and benefits, incentives for participating, the option to withdraw from the study. As a researcher, you must also present the research in a manner that is easily understood by the participants. They say that minors are presumed to be incompetent and they cannot give consent. Therefore, you as a researcher, permission must be obtained from the minor's parents or legal guardians. Must receive permission from the minor's parents or legal guardians. The ease with which many studies can be conducted with the internet also raises ethical issues. There are concerns with privacy and internet research, which could limit the ability to maintain the privacy and confidentiality of information. It also can be compromised using data transmission and storage. You could have concerns with hackers or sending an email to the wrong address. Your research data transmitted over the internet can be encrypted. And if no identifying information is collected, the only connection is the internet protocol, the IP address. Individuals conducting internet research should take as many precautions as necessary. The last phase of the research process is to communicate the results of the study to others. So when writing the research report, you must follow the primary ethical guidelines, which are fidelity, honesty, and integrity. You should never fabricate or falsify any information presented. And you as a researcher should report the methodology used in conducting and analyzing your data. It is necessary for you as a researcher to refer to the work of others. When making use of the contribution of others, it is essential for you to give that individual or individuals credit. To use the contributions of others without giving them credit constitutes plagiarism. What is plagiarism? Using work produced by someone else and you're calling it your own. So if you're using information or ideas from a source, but you are not quoting, you must still credit the source. Paraphrase the information in your own words Then cite the source in the text using the author's name and the date of the publication. And you must provide full reference in your reference section of your research. Please, and I must stress, please do not plagiarize your research. When writing your research, it is crucial that you provide citations. I've seen too many times whereas students not intentionally plagiarize, but because they did not provide citations, their research was considered plagiarized and they were not able to present or submit their proposal or their research. Bellevue College plays an important part in your research, especially with plagiarism. Students can be penalized for plagiarism. I want to see that happen to you. So please reach out to me or other instructors or even the library for assistance in citing your work. Like I said, chapter 4 is very short, and therefore this is the end of my lecture on chapter 4. Thank you.